I'm Erin Blue, the Executive Director of the Peggy R. McConnell Arts Center in Worthington. We're thrilled to have you join us today to enjoy a talk for the Ohioana Book Festival. We should have and hoped to have this in person at the MAC in April, but as you know, we have changed the way we do things, but we're excited to still be a part of the Ohioana Book Festival. We've been a part of this event for a couple of years now, and we're excited to be a part of this again this year. I want to just take a moment to let you all know that our galleries are open at limited hours. We still have a faculty show that is up through the end of August 29th, I believe, is our last day. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 4 and 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. So please come take a look at the great work by our faculty artists that are on display right now. We're really hoping to sell their work as a way to support them during this time when they're not able to teach. But the good news is we are working with them on being able to offer safe and thoughtful in-person and virtual and outdoor classes for the fall session. So for those of you who haven't been to the MAC and are interested, please keep an eye out on our website for those. I also want to give a shout out for the Worthington Libraries Friends Group who shared this program. And a big thank you to Michael Halliday, who is the artist of the work behind me. One of the great things about hosting this event is that we get to show art and combine art and and literature. And so I wanted to make sure we have a little bit of art today. So thanks again for being here, and I'm going to pass it over to David.
Thank you, Erin. It's a pleasure to be here. I am David Weaver. I am the Executive Director of the Ohioana Library, which presents the Ohioana Book Festival this year for the first time virtually for reasons that I'm sure we all know. But we're just delighted that we'll be able to continue this partnership with the McConnell Arts Center and do this special outreach program that we actually, as Erin said, did plan to be a live event last April, when we were thinking that the book festival normally is held the last weekend of April. So we're delighted that even though it's taken a number of months and a lot of adjustments, that we're still able to do that. And I do want to say a special thank you not only to the McConnell Arts Center, but to all of our festival sponsors and partners, all of whom are listed on the Ohioana website. And a special shout out to our official bookseller, the Book Loft at German Village. Yes, even though it is not a live event, you can still get copies of all of the books of all of our authors featured at this year's festival by going online to bookloft.com. And now it is my pleasure to welcome our authors, the authors of UltraSquad. Julia DeVillers is the author of How My Private Personal Journal Became a Bestseller, which was adapted into the Disney Channel original movie Read 'em and Weep, or Read It and Weep. She is also the author of the Liberty Porter First Daughter series and the co-author of the Trading Faces series, which she writes with her twin sister, Jennifer Roy. That must be an exciting. I'm going to ask her about that later. Julia grew up in Albany, New York, and now lives with her husband and 2 children in Columbus, Ohio. So welcome, Julia.
Thank you so much, David. So happy to be here.
And our illustrator, Rafael Rosado, I'm delighted to say, in addition to all of the other many credits that he has, is the official designer of the 2020 Ohioana Book Festival poster. So we're delighted that every year we select a different author to do that. And this year, Rafael has done it as for the first time a comic poster starring James Thurber. So I'm going to ask him a little bit about that later. Rafael, born in Puerto Rico and based in Columbus, Ohio, is a seasoned writer, director, and storyboard artist for the animation industry, working on shows as diverse as Scooby-Doo, Transformers, The Batman, Looney Tunes, and Curious George. He's also the co-creator and illustrator of the graphic novels Giants Beware, Dragons Beware, and Monsters Beware. His work is featured in the latest edition of the Comic Squad anthology and also the Tales from La Vida collection. He's the illustrator of the UltraSquad series of graphic novels published by Justice Studios. And his latest project, Call Me Iggy, is his newest graphic novel collaboration with Jorge Aguirre. And so we're so delighted to welcome Rafael. Thank you and welcome, Rafael.
Thank you. It's my honor.
And now, Yes, a little bit about UltraSquad, which is, if you're not familiar with it, 4 girls are chosen to be a secret intergalactic team. Posey, Anna, Lyric, and Sky discover that their unique personalities, passions, and power friendship can make a difference in and out of this world. They're ultra fierce, ultra unstoppable. They are the UltraSquad. And so instead of me just blabbering on about the UltraSquad, squad, I thought since we have the author and the illustrator here, we would ask Julia to actually read some excerpts from the story as Rafael provides some accompanying artwork. So Julia and Rafael, take it away.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that great opening. I love the intergalactic squad. Yes, meet the UltraSquad. Are 4 ordinary girls who you soon find out there's no such thing as an ordinary girl, and these girls turn into superheroes. I'll read a little excerpt, and then Raph is going to draw for us later, which is super fun. It's a sunny day at Goodhart Academy. Teachers are teaching, students are students. A world removed and untouched by the drama of that mildly disturbing previous page. There's the previous page. It's kind of spooky. I'm ready for my close-up. Stuff the landing. That's my jam. Problem solved. As David introduced them, they are Posey, whose personal motto is Born to Shine. Posey loves fashion and drama and wants to be on Broadway. Anna loves gymnastics, and her personal motto is Girls Run the World in the Galaxy. Lyric, whose passion is music. Her personal motto is Girls Rock. Sky loves science experiments and technology. Her personal motto, problem solved. So the girls are in school, and suddenly, over the principal's loudspeaker, will Posey, Anna, Lyric, and Sky please report to the principal's office? We're here to see the principal. Actually, you're here to see me, the school secretary. I'm not just a #1 school secretary. I'm, whoosh, Z. There's the school secretary now. She is the chief recruitment officer for the ultra-classified Ultra Intergalactic Agency of Ultra. Ultra stands for the Ultimate League of Extraterrestrial Randoms and Humans too. That seems a little bit forced, Lyric says. Well, our writer quit on us. Just roll with it. So our girls have been called to be the super intergalactic squad to save the universe, and they're called the UltraSquad. We'll jump ahead a little bit. The girls get their spaceship, and they get these really super cool spacesuits. And they are called to help save the galaxy from a black hole machine that is on its way, getting closer and closer to Earth, and it's going to devour the Earth. This is an epic task, UltraSquad, says Z. Thus, I brought you assistance from the planet Paladoria. The Paladorians. Who are the Paladorians? I don't like monsters, Anna says. Are they scary? Anna, there will be a lot of scary things one faces when saving the galaxy, but these little dudes are not one of them. Pleasure to meet you. Good things come to those who wait. I've been waiting for this all of our lives. It is the sidekicks, the pallies. Rambunctious and okay, slightly uncontrollable, but when you really need them, they are there for you. Bob, Schlump, Louie, and Jane. So the sidekicks are loyal and fun, and Roth is going to show you a little bit about how he has brought these pallies to life. Let's watch Roth draw, which is my favorite part.
All right, let me go ahead and do a screen share here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the characters. I'm drawing them on Photoshop. Typically I would draw them on paper, but this seemed like a easier alternative for what we're doing today. Let's see. So usually when I draw these characters, I start out with a really kind of rough sketch with basic shapes just to get an idea of the composition. So I'm going to start out with Schlunk. And Schlunk, let's see, he's always sleeping, it seems like, right, Julia? I mean, any chance?
His superpower is he can take endless naps.
That's right. So during the adventure, I mean, he's pretty brave, but any chance he gets to take a little nap, he'll take it.
Yes, his signature item is his blankie. His personal motto is just chillin'.
Then we have Bob, who's sort of the leader of the group. He's a little cranky usually. Very bossy and overbearing, but I think everybody in the group kind of takes it in stride, right?
They know his heart's in the right place.
Right. Let's see. Then we have Louis. And Louis is sort of the X factor, right? I mean, he's sort of a loose cannon. He's always looking for a snack.
If Louis smells a taco, it's all over with. He will
right.
do anything for a good snack.
So I'm going to draw him here chasing a taco. And then last but not least, we have Jane, who's always positive. What else would you say about Jane?
Her signature color is a rainbow. She is always, like you said, super positive, upbeat, cheering everybody on. Her personal motto is hugs and squishes.
Okay, so usually I'll do a rough sketch like this, and then I'll go back and ink it. And obviously in this case, I'm gonna ink it digitally. I'll go a little bit faster than I would usually in the books. But at this point, I've drawn these characters so much that it comes pretty easy. And when I was designing these characters, I tried to make them as simple as I could, thinking of something that, you know, maybe the kids could learn to draw themselves. And also because I think originally we're gonna make some toys out of them. And they did make some squishies from a couple of them, right?
I'll show those off in a bit.
It's always fun to, when I have the chance to design characters from scratch. My regular work, which is doing TV storyboards, obviously all those characters are already designed, so I have to stick pretty close to what they're supposed to look like. But when I create my own characters, and in this case, working with Justice and Elevate, they already knew my work and they knew my style, so they were very encouraging as far as the designs I was coming up with, and it worked out really well.
So as Ross said, one of the most fun parts of this book series is that we get to work with this really great team. And since we're with the Ohioana Book Festival, I should point out that our team is almost 100% based in Ohio. A lot of us are here in Columbus. Rock is here, I live in Columbus. Elevate Pictures is the production studio that we partnered with, and they really brought the book to life with us. And it was all driven by Justice, the tween store, whose headquarters is located in New Albany here in Columbus. And when Justice approached us about doing a book series for them, I never imagined we could produce a whole book in Columbus. And it's been not only really fun because we get to work together sometimes in person, but also just knowing it's sort of a Ohio homegrown product that turned out so well.
Yeah, and also my collaborators on the book, artwork-wise, are also from Columbus. Dan Root, who did most of the inking, and Joan Novak, who was the colorist, who's a friend that I work with on many projects. He colored all the Chronicles of Claudette books, Giants Beware, Dragons, and Monsters Beware. And
this is the first time. You always have a team of people who help to make your books. Obviously, you've got the editors and the publishers and marketers and publicists and everything. And it was kind of fun because in each of the UltraSquads, we get to credit all of the people, and you see all the hard work that goes into all the layers of this. This is the first time I've ever written a graphic novel series. And it was my first time learning this part of the process. Fortunately, I had Raf, a pro, and Dan, and Novak, and this team of people. So we've got colorist Don Novak, we've got inker, pencilers, visual designers. We have a 3D artist who brought some of this to life. His name is Patrick Dammer, super, super talented. And the team part of the team at Elevate Pictures, spearheaded by the head of Elevate Pictures, Jeremy Hughes. And again, all right here in Ohio.
yeah, really.
I love how you bring their personalities to life so quickly. It's unbelievable. Louis,
Yeah, it was always really tight deadlines in these things. I think it made a great difference having the team locally. We could share the work and have feedback really fast, and it made a huge difference for me.
And the other person who is really critical to this, I'm going to give a shout out, is R.R. Wells. He collaborated on the story. He created, not to give any spoiler alerts away, but we do have a villain. And sometimes villains aren't always what they appear. His name is Morfrin. You can see him flying on the back of our book.
Well, I do have to say, watching this and learn, I did not know that how many of the creative team were actually from Ohio. I was going to say, I'm going to have to prevail on Erin Blue after this, that we need to do a UltraSquad exhibit at the at the McConnell Arts Center. that would be great and everything, since so many and of course, Rafael, you actually live in Worthington and stuff. So so wonderful. Well, it's so wonderful to hear the stories and see the pictures, and which kind of, I guess, brings me in now, kind of like pulling us back, to have a little conversation about this. How did the two of you get involved with Justice, and how did this project come to be for the two of you?
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Justice, the tween store, very empowering to kids. I had worked with them previously on other books that are sort of behind me on the shelf over here. And when Justice came to me in partnership with Elevate Pictures, who I mentioned, who is located here in Columbus, they asked if I would want to do another book series with them. Of course, I jumped on the opportunity. They're such a great team of people, great stores. And they suggested the graphic novel. And one of the fun things about Justice, just to, if you could bring up the picture of all the merchandise, because Raf gave a nod to it earlier. As you can see here, yes. So Justice really brought our books to life. There's a notebook and a squishy and all of the kind of girl power and kid power things that went along with it, that they had in their stores and still online. So when Justice asked us to write a graphic novel, I said, that's great. I can write that, but I definitely cannot illustrate it. And the Elevate team reached out to Roth.
Yes.
And so, Rob, the thing is, like, you had been involved before in graphic novels, but had you worked for Justice?
I've never worked for Justice. I've been to the store many times because I have two daughters and they're teenagers now, but years ago, we, used to make our regular trips to Justice. And, I always went. I actually like looking at the merchandise because I had a really fun graphic sense usually. And then I was asked by the Elevate team to come on board. And I think Julia, you knew of my work, right? But you didn't realize I was in town.
There's a funny story. So I had gone to Comic Crossroads, the festival prior, and I'd gone and sat in on a couple of panels. When I found I was doing a graphic novel, I wanted to do some recon. And my friend Jarrett was speaking there, so I went to see him speak. Judd Winnick, all these talented people. And I thought, Rafael Rosado, I've always wanted to see him in person. They must have flown him into town. How special. So I went to see Raf speak. I briefly introduced, I don't even know if you remember Raf. And I briefly introduced myself to you, and you're like, okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Rafael Rosado's here. And then moved on. And then when Elevate said, I think we have the perfect illustrator to you, Joe, one of the partners in Elevate, had said, and we'll bring him in. And I thought, wow, where are we flying him in from? LA, New York? Nope, he's here in Worthington. So it worked out perfectly.
I was actually 10 minutes away from the Elevate headquarters, actually.
So it was great because I was already a fan of his, slightly stalked him a little bit apparently. And then.
Yeah. So it was a very happy circumstance that the two of you came together and were actually living in the same town, et cetera, and stuff. Well, that was going to be my next question was, did you know each other before you started working on this project? And it sounds like this was kind of the thing that brought you together.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, I had the same reaction knowing, once I got to know Julia, she's, has so many published works out there in the Disney movie and all that. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive having somebody here in town like that too, so that's really cool that we got to work together and I think our partnership's going to continue. We're, trying to figure out some other things to do together.
I was going to say, asking everything, is UltraSquad your only project or you have other things that you would like to work on together, in the future?
Yeah, we're discussing some projects right now. Still sort of in, a graphic novel, but maybe something for younger readers. So stay tuned,
Excellent. Well, because, I wanted to ask, watching Julia read and Ralph do the artwork, I was going to say, how does the process typically work? Is the story written beginning to end before you start to put artwork in, or are you working as the story is evolving with pictures and art together as an organic kind of whole?
I think evolving is a perfect word, David, to use for the process, because when we started book one, of course, it's a new process. I wrote out the book like I usually do and made little comments for illustrations and brought it to Roth. And I think we went into Roth's studio and he said, that's great. And then he just took it away, right? So we would go page by page and I would toss out a lot of the words because, there aren't too many words in a graphic novel to fit in the bubble. But I would say, this is what I envision on the page. And then Roth would illustrate it. And we went page by page. And I have a lot of pictures of that process. I was absolutely fascinated. It was the first time I've had illustrated books before with phenomenal illustrators. But this was the first time I ever sat with that person and watched them bring the characters to life. And it was so incredible. And then Roth, we just sort of got on the same page. And the more we got into the book series, the more books we did. I didn't have to sit with him directly. I literally could say, this happens on a page, and Rafa, what would you do?
Right, right. And I think I actually encourage you to do less on the script, so it would give me an opportunity to come up with visual solutions for a lot of the story problems. Not problems, I mean, you know, story. Story parts, whatever. But yeah, so it was fun, like developing that relationship and that work that we're working. When I work with Jorge on our books, the way we do it is it's a real back and forth. You know, we discuss a story, then he writes an outline, then a script, and we go back and forth, giving notes to each other, you know, I end up coming up with a lot of visual ideas and jokes and that kind of thing. And I was trying to do something similar with Julia, because of graphic novels and comics, a lot of writers get to be really descriptive, a little too much, you know, almost describing what happens panel to panel. And to me, that takes the joy out of the process. So I was happy to learn that Julia was up for collaboration in all kinds of ways. And yeah, it gave me the freedom to have fun with the characters, especially the Pallies, the characters that I just drew, those guys. Those are closer to my style and the kind of stuff I like to draw, more, you know, goofy, cartoony stuff. So I got to have a lot of fun with those guys, for sure.
Well, that's good. You know, you have both, again, you've had this successful collaboration, but you've also done, I mean, you've had very successful careers on your own, working individually, working with other collaborators. And I want to kind of go back, you know, because I always feel, you know, people that do what you do have known from an early age that they wanted to do this. Is that how it was with you? Did you always say, I want to be a writer, I want to be an artist and everything? And has what you have done in your lives and careers, you know, come as you planned it, or has it all been kind of like a happy synchronistic, you know, happening, that it's just happened and you've ran with it?
Well, I can start with that one. I have always been a huge book nerd. A huge reader, loved books. But as a kid, I didn't really know that authors were real people. So I thought that that was something exalted, that, you know, somebody, I didn't really think, oh, I could be a writer. But I had a lot of encouragement along the way. My first grade teacher, Mrs. Guest, in Albany, New York, there's a little me, actually encouraged me to write. And if I had extra time at the end of the day, she would actually take my stories and make copies of them and distribute them to other kids, and helped me, encourage me to send my things away to competitions. I was a national winner of a writing contest. That's me with the long hair, and a sneak preview of my co-author to come, my twin sister Jennifer, wearing the Stars and Stripes shirt. So I did get that kind of positive feedback about my writing. Now, it doesn't mean I just wanted to be a writer. I also wanted to be just like Rob. I also love to draw and want to be an illustrator. But if you want to put up, there we go, thank you. That was not to be. So I had, this is one of my early stories. Obviously, it's well loved and damaged, but I had hamsters, and I would write and draw stories, and I would get a lot of feedback from my friends going, "Oh, I loved what you wrote." Not a lot of feedback. "Oh, I loved what you drew," for kind of obvious reasons. I mean, I guess he is kind of cute, but so it really developed into me, you know, trying to work on my writing. And writing for kids has always it's always been a dream and always been a passion. So I'm really fortunate just, you know, to even be published in this industry, made up of such amazing people and amazing talent, and being able to, you know, reach out to kids with my work. It's so rewarding. And I look back at pictures like this. All right, you can take that off the screen. It's kind of horrifying. But pictures like that, and I think, wow, hey, yeah, I have come a long way.
Wonderful. Rafael, how long, I know you were born in Puerto Rico. How long did you live in there? Did you grow up there? And is that where you started your first pictures?
Well, yeah. So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I moved to the States when I was 14. And I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil, really. I mean, my dad's an artist himself. My uncle, there's a lot of artists in my family, actually. And I was drawing comics from the very beginning, really. And my parents, thankfully, saved a lot of that stuff. And yeah, I a lot of kids, it's always like, I want to be a cop, I want to be a firefighter, all that stuff. I never wanted to be anything but an artist. And my parents were very encouraging all along. So that was really nice. And I kept doing comic book samples over the years. I ended up going to film school at Ohio State, and I started doing animation, and I ended up working in the animation field for many years. But in the back of my head, I still had that idea of going back to comics. Jorge, my partner on the Claudette books, he and I went to film school together at Ohio State. And, we stayed friends over the years, and we always talked about just collaborating on something together. And by then he was also working in TV animation as a writer. And I came up with the idea in the world of Claudette, and that seemed like a perfect project to work on. And I think by then, I feel like my skills as an artist and as a storyteller were at the point where I could undertake that kind of a story and have it be what I would want it to be. So in a way, things worked out the way they were supposed to, because I don't think I would have been ready to do this, these kind of big stories, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But somehow all the experience working in animation, I think, prepared me for doing these books.
We always think about the fact, at Ohioana, like everybody, comes with literary or artistic influences. So, like, for example, Julia and Rafael, who is a comic artist influenced you? And Julia, who as a writer influenced you as you were growing up, and which cartoonist or comic strip creator did you like?
Well, geez, let me think. I was always reading mostly Marvel comics, really. So Jack Kirby, who to a lot of comic book artists, he's sort of like the god of comics in a sense. He co-created with Stan Lee most of the Marvel comics characters. And I was a huge fan of Fantastic Four when I was a kid, and that was, his sort of flagship book. So I was reading that stuff, but I was also reading stuff like, like the Disney comics and Little Lulu and things like that, So I think in a way, all that stuff was still in my brain when I started doing my own books, just having that sense of action, adventure, and energy of like the superhero books, and then the cartoony fun stuff of more like the Disney younger books, So I think in those books we tried to combine both things.
Yeah. Julia, how about writing influences? Who did you read when you were a teenager?
Oh gosh, well, I was definitely in the Judy Blume era. Like most girls then, I was obsessed with Judy Blume, and it was great because she was an early contemporary influence for me, and with an authentic voice that I try to capture for my readers as well. But since we've got Rob here, this is kind of a funny story. I was obsessed with Batman, and when I was little, I truly believed that I would get discovered as Batgirl. And I was little, bear with me, but this was how my imagination worked. And it was really fun because I would sit in classes, sometimes bored, and I would daydream and I would think, what if there was a knock on the door, an announcement over from the principal saying, Julia, come down to the principal's office. And I would go down to the principal's office and Batman and Robin would be waiting for me to whisk me off in the Batmobile and take me to my rightful place in my rightful home. And what is so fun to tell you is because with UltraSquad, that's how the book opened, if you recall. They were sitting in school and suddenly the principal called them down to become superheroes. So that was my childhood dream, and I finally got to put that.
That's funny. You never told me that before.
No, I just realized that I never told you that story before.
That's
Probably because it's a little strange. But, that's how the writer's imagination can sometimes work. And I also love that, for kids, something that you think about and you daydream about, imagine when you're a kid, can actually become, a story in a future life too. And all right, and Batgirl was still my phone name.
That's awesome. I was a huge Batman fan myself too as a kid. As a matter of fact, my 6th birthday party was a Batman theme. Everything Batman, Batman cake. My dad did these silkscreen capes that every kid would get and masks and everything.
I'm so jealous.
I have an older brother and my mom made outfits for both of us. And because he was the bigger of the two, he ended up as Batman and I was Robin. So my own birthday, right?
Try sharing your birthday with an identical twin, splitting everything.
Well, yeah.
We'll talk.
Well, and Julie, talking about Batman, and characters have been made into films. I mean, one of the incredible things to me about all of these superhero characters, is the life they have had beyond the comics. I mean, television, films, everything, so many media, and you actually, had, How My Private Personal Journal became a bestseller, made into a Disney Channel original movie. And the thing that I did not know was that you actually had a cameo part in that. So how did that all come about, and what was it like to be working with Disney?
Oh, it's the best. It was such a fun experience. Oh, here's a behind the scenes picture of it too. So when I found out, I remember I was sitting in the Rusty Bucket in New Albany and my agent called me and said, guess what? Great news. Disney Channel wants to make your book into a movie. And it was kind of, by the way, they already greenlit it. By the way, they're going to start filming soon. It was a rare whirlwind in Hollywood where I didn't have to wait. So it was really exciting. And I got to fly out on the set. And this book is really close to my heart because it was a novel that I wrote about a 14-year-old girl who writes in her private diary. It gets discovered and she becomes a best-selling author because of it, which was kind of, a wish fulfillment, a dream that I would have had when that was my age. So the character was a mini me, and it was so amazing to see these actors. You can see the Panabaker sisters in the corner. They all brought the story to life. And also fun nod to the superhero. Danielle Panabaker plays the alter ego superhero of her sister, the main character. So I got to go out to set in Salt Lake City, which was super fun. And I was planning to hide in the background. I brought my daughter and I was planning to lay low, not get in anyone's way. Well, they put us in a scene that you can see in the upper corner there. And that is my daughter and I. It was a really special moment, special memory. So I flashed across the screen for approximately 1.5 seconds, and I'll take it.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, like I said, that's kind of like an ultimate dream, that you write a book and Disney or a studio picks it up. So what a fantastic experience. And
I have to tell you, I've got maybe 2 more in the works, so I can't give any secrets yet, but hopefully next year when we talk again.
Well, that is great. Keep us posted. So wonderful. And Rafael and everything. I mean, of course, as an animator, you've worked within the film industry, and you've talked a little bit about the, storyboarding and the other things you've done. Which is the medium you like best? Comics or films or et cetera? You've kind of given us a hint and stuff. So,
Well, geez, they kind of both go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very lucky to be able to work in the animation industry, being here in Columbus for one thing, um, and you know, doing the comics is something that again, it was a lifelong dream. You know, from as a kid. Um, I love doing both, but to be honest, if I had my way, I'd probably just be doing comics, you know, the rest of my life, and hopefully I'll end up doing that till I drop, you know, making kids
Yeah.
comics and that kind of thing. Um, so it's good. I get to, you know, have the best of both worlds in a way. But again, I think uh, deep down inside, I think I'm a comic book artist, you know, above anything else.
Which kind of leads me into asking you, I mean, as I said, you know, this year you were the sixth artist who has designed a poster for the Ohioana Book Festival, and you were the first to ever create it as a comic strip and starring James Surr. So I wanted to ask you kind of how that all came about and how you picked. I mean, I know last fall you were actually one of the guest presenters for the Thurber's Evenings at Authors, you know, as part of the Thurber 125. So I wondered if you might tell us how that all came to be.
Well, let me think. First of all, it is a great honor and privilege to be the poster artist for this year. I was beyond thrilled when you asked me to do it. And originally, when I was thinking of designs for the poster, I was doing more traditional layouts, you know, more like what you've done in the past. And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I do comics, so why not do it as a comic strip, you know? Um, and right away, I thought of the idea of having Jim Sturber be in it, because I've always liked to, well, for one thing, obviously he's from Columbus, there's that connection. But I always liked his look. He already looks like a character out of a movie or a comic strip. He's got that striking hair, that crazy hair, and the eyeglasses. He already looks like a cartoon to me. So then I thought, how can we have him have a little adventure in one page? Because obviously there's only so much you can do within the size of a poster. So I came up with that idea of having him sort of travel through different genres, representing all the different genres in Ohioana Festival every year. There's a little bit of everything. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And once I came up with that idea, it all came together fairly quickly. It was just a matter of figuring out the pacing of the panels and which type of book or storytelling, you know, genre he would go through and how they would contrast with each other. You know, like the film noir and the war, adventure, all that stuff. So yeah, but it's funny. I mean, I've actually been thinking about James Sturber as a comic book character for a while, to be honest. So, you know, it was nice to have the chance to actually do it.
Well, it's excellent, and I just love because, like I said, you know, when you did your storyboarding and everything, and his clothes is how nice every genre is here. Because one of the things that we have said for many years, I actually use this in publicity and grant applications and everything for supporters of the festival. I say one thing about the Ohioana Book Festival is there's something for every reader of every age. And so that is one of the great things. It's not just a children's book festival or an adult book festival. We do have something for everybody. And I was so thrilled that you actually put that in, because that's exactly the point we tried to make. You know, if you're a lover of books and reading, you're going to find something at the Ohioana Book Festival that you will enjoy. So we're thrilled about that, and we were just honored to have you do the poster this year. So, and
it's my pleasure. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
again, I'm so honored to be able to do this, and just to have that work out there. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent. And we hope to have some actual posters printed and autographed by you that we're going to have for some lucky readers at some point during this during this festival as well. So and Julia, I wanted to ask you and everything, because you actually you have your own event in Chicago every year, do you not? Or
yes, in a way. So I am a co-founder of so much fun, the OMG Book Festival, which stands for O Middle Grade. It's a traveling middle grade circus, is kind of how we put it. And it actually started here in Columbus. I had gotten together with the co-founders. It was a brainchild of Sarah Malinowski, Adele Griffin, Michael Buckley, and I were all middle grade and YA authors. And we were going to host it in New York City. And because of rules and regulations, it was taking a little longer. And I said, why don't we start it in Columbus? Because we're such a supportive community full of literary minded, creative people here. And the whole community really turned out for it. We partnered with with Performance Academies, a school where we brought thousands of free books to children. We brought in authors. One of the most fun parts of it, I think, was we got to do an author tour of the Columbus Main Library. You know, it just opened in all of its glory and beauty, so I got to show that off to everybody. I also got to show off Columbus to a lot of authors who actually had never been here before. And then after Columbus, we traveled. We've been to Denver. We went to St. Louis, and we're supposed to be in Chicago this year, but just like the Ohioana Festival, we had to kind of pivot. So we're going to partner with Anderson's Bookshop in Chicago, hopefully in the spring.
well,
So thanks for bringing that, because it's super fun. And I also love that the first one was OMG Ohio.
excellent. Well, and fingers crossed, because I mean, we've already planning, that next spring that we will be back with the Ohioana Book Festival at the Columbus Metropolitan Library's main library. I was going to say, in this time of pandemic, et cetera, it just seems like things like books and reading and art and everything are even more important than they ever were, because, again, since we've all been shut in. So, I know that everybody's going to be ready to get out and everything. So, but thank goodness we have books like yours and to see us through these difficult times. And so I just want to ask a final question, since you both do live here, as I do, and as Erin Blue lives. How do you feel about Central Ohio as a hub for arts and writers, et cetera?
Well, I mean, for myself, as you know, I mean, Columbus is home of the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library.
Yes.
Ohio State, the largest collection of comic art in the world. That alone is an incredible treasure. And it's actually brought a lot of comic book people to Columbus. That and the Cartoon Crossroads Columbus Festival that Columbus native Jeff Smith founded, going into its 5th year. And obviously we're going virtual just like everybody else this year, this fall. But so as far as that goes, I think Columbus is a tremendous city for comics, and there's a lot of support in the community, and all the support that the CXC Festival has had over the years absolutely shows that. It involves just about every arts organization in the city, the Wexner Center, CCAD, the museum. Yeah, I think it's a great place to be if you're a cartoonist, I think, and it's getting to be known that way. And we're getting more cartoonists to move to Columbus just for that.
Julia, yeah.
And I owe Columbus my start in this, because I came out here for graduate school at Ohio State. I was part of the Ohio State School of Journalism. And I took a class in children's literature with Professor Janet Hickman, who literally co-authored one of the seminal books on children's literature. and really fell in with that department and kind of kicked off, you know, not only my love, I mean, I always loved kidlit, but it also made me a part of that community. And so Columbus kind of launched me in that direction. And now we have such, you know, so many creative people here. I'm part of OHYA, which is Ohio Young Adult Authors Group. We meet for dinner now virtually on Zoom to connect. And then, of course, the surprise creative community that came about with UltraSquad, which was, you know, the Creative Justice Studio. Shout out to Kendra and Tracy at Justice for they're working hard on it. And then Elevate and meeting with Roth. So Columbus has really been a hidden gem for me in my career as well.
Well, thank you both. This has just been a great hour to spend with you, and you know, the marriage of art and literature, and so it's wonderful that it's come together in this book, UltraSquad, and also too, it's kind of appropriate too that we're doing this discussion for the book festival at the McConnell Arts Center, because the McConnell Arts Center is, I mean, you can take an art class, you can see an art exhibit, you can watch a performance, you can hear authors talk about their books. So it's a fantastic place too. So again, one of these, so many things have come up, bookstores, art centers, and everything that really support both the visual and the literary arts in Central Ohio. So, and I'm so delighted that you have been part of the Ohioana Book Festival and that you've hung in there with us as we made it into a virtual event. So thank you both, Rafael Rosado and Julia DeVillers.
You're welcome.
And a reminder, you can get UltraSquad at online at thebookloft.com. And so we're just delighted that we've been able to have this at the McConnell Arts Center. If you've never been to the MAC, you owe it yourself to go. And again, a very special thanks to Erin Blue and all of her staff, and a kind of a special shout out to Clay Cormany, who's one of their longtime volunteers, who was also a big supporter of Ohioans, who's kind of made this connection happen over the years. So thank everybody. And Erin, I'm gonna turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, David. And thank you, Julia and Rafael both. I'm so sad that we're not together in the gallery, because I wanted to jump in on so many of those I took lots of great notes during the talk, and absolutely, I was hoping that this event and this introduction would launch us into some great collaboration opportunities at the MAC. One of the things that I really love about the McConnell Arts Center is that we really do love to feature local artists, and this book and this story is such a great example of all that Columbus has to offer that maybe the general public isn't even aware is right under their noses. So we have 20,000 square feet, and we can do amazing things once we're all back together again. And I would love to work with you guys again in person and do some great stuff moving forward. And we also teased at the beginning of this that we were going to have a raffle. So just wanted to let you know that everyone that pre-registered for our event today will be entered into a drawing to get an original illustration by Rafael. We'll be reaching out to the winner for that after this event is over. So thank you all for pre-registering. Thank you for joining us virtually for this event. Thanks again to Rafael, Julia, and David, and we hope to see you in the flesh really soon.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.